Indeed, teaching and learning grammar can create anxieties and frustration to both teachers and learners. When teachers don't exactly know how to manage a grammar class and students can barely learn from teachers, grammar teaching and learning can be disastrous. As future English teachers, it is important that you are well versed with different methods of teaching grammar to promote better language learning among students and develop a sense of fulfillment in your role as grammar teachers. There are several methods that can help us make our grammar lessons a lot more interesting and fun. Here are the different methods of teaching grammar. Diagramming sentences. Diagramming sentences is a method of visually representing the structure of a sentence. It involves breaking down a sentence into its constituent parts and arranging them in a diagram to show how they relate to each other grammatically. Basic rules in diagramming sentences. Start with the main subject and verb of the sentence. The subject goes on the left and the verb goes on the right, with a horizontal line between them. Add any direct objects or predicate nominatives below the verb, on a vertical line. If there is more than one direct object, they should be stacked on top of each other. Add any modifiers, adjectives or adverbs, above the word they modify, on a diagonal line. If there is more than one modifier, they should be stacked on top of each other. For prepositional phrases, draw a diagonal line from the preposition to the object of the preposition, with the preposition above the line and the object below. For coordinating conjunctions, and, but, or, etc., draw a slanted line connecting the two clauses they join. For subordinating conjunctions, such as because, although, if, etc., draw a vertical line to connect the subordinate clause to the main clause. Use parentheses to enclose non-essential elements, such as appositives or participial phrases, and draw them on a separate line. It's important to note that there are different methods for diagramming sentences, and some may have slight variations in their rules or conventions. The key is to be consistent and clear in your diagramming so that the structure of the sentence is easy to understand. Learning through writing. The learning through writing method of teaching grammar is an approach that emphasizes the importance of writing in the development of grammatical knowledge and skills. Here's an example of how this method might be used in a classroom setting. The teacher introduces a new grammatical concept, e.g. subject-verb agreement, and provides examples of correct and incorrect usage. 2. The students are given a writing prompt that requires them to use the new concept in a meaningful way, e.g. write a paragraph about a favorite hobby using correct subject-verb agreement. 3. As the students write, the teacher circulates the room and provides individualized feedback on grammar, syntax, and usage. 4. After the writing exercise is complete, the teacher leads a class discussion on common errors and challenges related to the new concept. 5. The students then revise their writing based on the feedback and discussion. 6. This process is repeated with additional writing prompts and concepts throughout the semester, building on previous learning and incorporating new concepts as they are introduced. By engaging in meaningful writing tasks that require them to use and apply new grammatical concepts, students are able to develop a deeper understanding of the language and improve their writing skills. This method also provides opportunities for individualized feedback and discussion, which can help students to identify and correct errors and improve their overall language proficiency. Deductive method. The deductive method of teaching grammar is an approach that begins with an explanation of a grammatical rule or concept, followed by examples that illustrate the rule, and then exercises or activities that allow students to practice applying the rule. Here's an example of how this method might be used in a classroom setting. The teacher presents a rule of grammar, e.g. the present perfect tense, and explains how it is formed and when it is used. The teacher provides examples of correct usage of the present perfect tense, as well as incorrect usage to illustrate common mistakes. The students are given exercises or activities to practice using the present perfect tense, such as completing sentences with the correct verb form or writing short paragraphs using the tense correctly. 4. The teacher provides feedback on the exercises and works with the students to correct errors and clarify misunderstandings. 5. The students continue to practice using the present perfect tense in subsequent lessons, building on their understanding and applying the rule in more complex contexts. By beginning with an explanation of the rule and providing examples before moving on to practice exercises, the deductive method helps students to understand the underlying principles of grammar and how they can be applied in different contexts. This method can be particularly useful for introducing new concepts or for students who benefit from a structured and organized approach to learning grammar. However, it may not be as effective for students who learn best through hands-on, experiential learning or who struggle with abstract concepts. Interactive method. The interactive method of teaching grammar is an approach that emphasizes student-centered, interactive learning activities that engage students in using and practicing grammar in a meaningful way. Here's an example of how this method might be used in a classroom setting. The teacher introduces a new grammatical concept, e.g. modal verbs, through a brief explanation, but then quickly moves on to an interactive activity. The students work in pairs or small groups to complete a task that requires them to use the new concept in a meaningful way, such as creating a dialogue using modal verbs to express opinions or giving advice. 3. The teacher circulates the room and provides feedback and guidance as needed, helping students to correct errors and refine their language use. 5. The class then comes together to share their work and discuss common challenges or areas of confusion related to the new concept. 6. The teacher may introduce additional activities or games to reinforce the new concept and encourage further practice and engagement. By engaging students in interactive, collaborative activities that require them to use and apply new grammatical concepts, the interactive method helps to promote deeper understanding and retention of language skills. This method also encourages students to take ownership of their learning and to actively participate in the learning process, which can help to build confidence and motivation. However, it may require more preparation and facilitation on the part of the teacher to ensure that activities are appropriately structured and that all students have opportunities to participate and receive feedback. Situational context. Situational context refers to the specific real-life situations in which language is used, and it can be an important factor in teaching grammar as it helps to contextualize and make the language more relevant to the learners. Here's an example of how situational context might be used in teaching grammar. 2. The teacher introduces a new grammatical concept, e.g. the past continuous tense, and provides a brief explanation of how it is formed and when it is used. The teacher then presents a real-life situation or scenario in which the new concept might be used, such as describing a scene from a movie or narrating a personal experience. 3. The students work in pairs or small groups to create sentences or dialogues that use the past continuous tense to describe the situation or scenario. 4. The teacher circulates the room and provides feedback and guidance as needed, helping students to correct errors and refine their language use. 5. The class comes together to share their work and discuss how the past continuous tense was used in different ways to describe the same situation or scenario. By presenting the new concept in a relevant situational context, the teacher can help students to see the practical application of the language and make it more meaningful and memorable. This approach can also help to motivate students and make the learning process more enjoyable and engaging. However, it may require more preparation on the part of the teacher to find or create appropriate situational contexts and to ensure that they are relevant and engaging for all learners. Using text, stories, songs, and rhymes. Using text. Using text, stories, songs, and rhymes is a popular and effective way to teach grammar because it can help students to see how language is used in real-life situations and can make the learning process more engaging and enjoyable. Here are some examples of how these methods might be used in teaching grammar. Sample objective, to teach students the past simple tense. Pre-activity, the teacher selects a short text, such as a news article or a story, that contains examples of the past simple tense. The teacher also prepares a worksheet with questions related to the text. Activity, the teacher begins by introducing the past simple tense and providing a brief explanation of its formation and usage. The teacher then distributes the text and worksheet to the students. 3. The students read the text and answer the questions on the worksheet, which require them to identify and analyze the past simple tense in context. 4. After the students have completed the worksheet, the teacher leads a class discussion to review and clarify the past simple tense and to provide feedback on any errors or misunderstandings. 5. The students are then given additional practice activities, such as creating their own sentences or stories using the past simple tense. By using a text to teach grammar, the teacher is able to provide students with real-life examples of the target grammar point in context. This approach can help to make the grammar more relevant and engaging for students, and can also help to reinforce their reading and comprehension skills. Additionally, the worksheet and discussion activities provide opportunities for students to analyze and reflect on the use of the past simple tense, and to receive feedback and guidance from the teacher. Using stories to teach grammar. Sample objective: to teach students the present continuous tense. Pre-activity: the teacher selects a short story that contains examples of the present continuous tense. The teacher also prepares a worksheet with questions related to the story. Activity: the teacher begins by introducing the present continuous tense and providing a brief explanation of its formation and usage. The teacher then reads the story aloud to the class. The students listen to the story and answer the questions on the worksheet, which require them to identify and analyze the present continuous tense in context. 4. After the students have completed the worksheet, the teacher leads a class discussion to review and clarify the present continuous tense and to provide feedback on any errors or misunderstandings. 5. The students are then given additional practice activities, such as creating their own sentences or stories using the present continuous tense. Using songs to teach grammar. Sample objective: to teach students the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. Pre-activity: the teacher selects a song that contains examples of the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. The teacher also prepares a worksheet with questions related to the song. Activity: the teacher begins by introducing the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives and providing a brief explanation of their formation and usage. The teacher then plays the song for the class. 3. The students listen to the song and answer the questions on the worksheet, which require them to identify and analyze the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives in context. 4. After the students have completed the worksheet, the teacher leads a class discussion to review and clarify the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives and to provide feedback on any errors or misunderstandings. 5. The students are then given additional practice activities, such as creating their own sentences or songs using comparative and superlative adjectives. Using rhymes to teach grammar. Sample objective: to teach students the parts of speech. Pre-activity: the teacher prepares a rhyme that lists the different parts of speech, such as noun, verb, adjective, adverb, etc. Activity: the teacher begins by introducing the different parts of speech and providing a brief explanation of their functions. The teacher then recites the rhyme for the class. 3. The students listen to the rhyme and identify the different parts of speech. They can also work in pairs or small groups to create their own rhymes that list different parts of speech. 4. After the students have had a chance to practice identifying and using the different parts of speech, the teacher can provide additional practice activities, such as sentence completion exercises or sentence diagramming. The use PPP: presentation, practice, production. Sample objective: to teach students the present perfect tense. Presentation: the teacher begins by introducing the present perfect tense and providing a brief explanation of its formation and usage. The teacher uses examples and visuals to help illustrate the concept of the present perfect tense, such as a timeline that shows how the present perfect relates to past events. The teacher provides guided practice activities that allow students to practice forming and using the present perfect tense in a controlled setting, such as filling in the blanks in a sentence or answering comprehension questions. Practice: the teacher provides students with additional practice activities that allow them to practice using the present perfect tense in a more open-ended setting, such as creating their own sentences or stories that use the present perfect tense. 2. The teacher circulates around the room and provides feedback and guidance to students as needed. Production. The teacher assigns a final production activity that requires students to use the present perfect tense in a meaningful way, such as writing a short essay or giving a presentation on a personal experience. The teacher provides feedback on the final production activity and works with students to address any errors or misunderstandings. By using the PPP method to teach grammar, teachers can provide students with a structured and comprehensive learning experience that gradually builds on their understanding of the target grammar point. The presentation phase allows students to gain a basic understanding of the grammar point and how it is used, while the practice phase provides opportunities for them to apply what they have learned in a controlled and structured setting. The production phase allows students to use the grammar point in a more open-ended and creative way, which can help to reinforce their learning and make the grammar point more meaningful and relevant to them. Modes for teaching grammar. Linguistic mode. In this mode, the teacher focuses on teaching the rules and structures of grammar explicitly. For example, when teaching the past tense, the teacher might explain that regular verbs form the past tense by adding ed to the base form, and irregular verbs have different forms in the past tense. 2. Storytelling mode. In this mode, the teacher uses stories and narratives to teach grammar in context. For example, the teacher might read a story to the class and ask students to identify examples of past tense verbs in the story. By using stories, students can see grammar structures being used in real-life situations, which can make them more memorable and engaging. Here's an example of how these modes might be used together to teach grammar. The teacher begins by introducing the past tense using the linguistic mode, providing a clear explanation of the rules and structures involved. 2. The teacher then reads a story to the class that contains examples of past tense verbs, using the storytelling mode to help students see the past tense in context. 3. After the story, the teacher leads a discussion about the past tense, asking students to identify examples of past tense verbs in the story and encouraging them to use the past tense in their own sentences. 4. The teacher then provides practice activities that allow students to practice using the past tense in a controlled setting, such as filling in the blanks in a sentence or answering comprehension questions. 5. Finally, the teacher assigns a production activity that requires students to use the past tense in a more open-ended and creative way, such as writing a short story or retelling a personal experience. By using both the linguistic and storytelling modes, the teacher can provide students with a well-rounded and engaging learning experience that helps them to understand and use grammar structures effectively.